Hey everybody, it's Pastor Dave, and thank you for joining me for part 3 in our What is the Purpose of Youth Ministry. And today I wanted to take some time to look at some of the problems, some of the problems that parents face, some of the problems that teens face, that they experience in their everyday lives, because these problems that teens and families face, they do impact how we do youth ministry and how we can best serve those in our community. And so when we look at the problems that parents and teens face, they face things like college costs. I mean, college is constantly going up, which puts more pressure on families to either save and provide, or for those students to take out more and more student loans to make school possible. Even for those who are still in school, teens who are in junior high or high school, there's a lot of schools, a lot of sports programs, even through the school, that cost a lot of money to participate in. To participate in some schools, I can remember from my son that was in high school just a few years ago. I mean, it was $300 for him to play on the soccer team. And that was for the school. That's not counting travel teams that are way, way, way more than that. And so once again, that puts a lot of pressure on families, whether it's sports, various activities, or clubs. They want their teens to be able to participate in things, to have strong friendships, to learn specific skills, things that they're good at. And to do that requires money. And so it not only puts pressure on them time-wise, but also financial-wise, of how is a parent going to raise enough money to help their teen to be able to do this, and then also have enough time to be there and to support their teens as they are participating in these sports, groups, clubs, activities, different things that the teens want to be involved in. But also along with that is teens, like many generations or many decades before, teens face the constant confronting of body image. But one of the things that is much different now is that they are constantly barraged with this. Your phone, I mean, we are carrying basically mini computers around in our pockets, and we are always marketed to, advertised to, and we are constantly being told this is the ideal person, this is the ideal body, which can add to teens' insecurity, make them feel like they're not worth as much, not even thinking about how those pictures they see in advertisements are heavily doctored to remove wrinkles and blemishes, parts of the bodies that aren't quite as smooth in real life. And so we are faced with these images of people who are not even real, or it's not the real them. And then another thing that parents and teens face is the mental and physical health issues. As I've said in some of the other prior videos, there is an extreme amount of pressure on parents to always be there for their teen, to provide for them financially, to be there for them, to support them, to be right. And this just puts a lot of mental and physical pressures on parents, but also upon teens who feel like, hey, if I'm going to be taking part in these activities, I have to excel, I have to do great, I have to be noticed, I have to make something out of myself, which leads to, like I said, a lot of daily pressure, whether it's in school, clubs, sports, activities, whatever it may be, to constantly be on your game, to constantly be performing, and always do well. Of course, that leads to depression, anxiety, stress, and all sorts of other physical ailments that come with that. And there's also this, what teens are faced with, this constant connection to others. This is something even just a few decades ago, or just a couple decades ago, that we did not face on a regular basis. But along with these pressures to perform, image issues, teens can go on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and they see people, for the most part, only sharing the best parts about themselves, the best parts of their lives. Where someone will, take a picture of themselves and say, oh, just waking up for my, the next day, can't wait, to see what happens. When really, in reality, that person took that picture 10 times to make sure that their head was turned just right, that the lighting was just right, they were smiling at the camera just right. But a teen that just sees that, they look at that and go, wow, I don't look like that when I get up. I don't look like that when I just smile at the camera, And so there's all these image, body issues, constant connection with others, which at times it can be helpful to be able to have other friends, other connections at your fingertips to reach out to others. But a downside of that is teens are very susceptible to bullying online, because people are so concerned with being happy, of wanting to be accepted, wanting to feel like their life matters. Unfortunately, that can lead some teens to go online and bully others because of how they look, what they do, how they live, where they live, the friends they hang out with. And it's not just something they have to face while they're at school. That would be enough. That would be more than enough, and that would be very painful. But they don't only face it at school, but they face it online. When they take their phone around with them, they could be constantly bullied, made fun of, put down, and that adds, once again, a lot of pressure and hurts a lot of people's self-worth, how they view themselves. And that's one of the things that parents really strive for their teens. They want to see their teen, they have this deep longing to see their teens be accepted and be in a supportive community. And all these problems, and there's many more, but all these problems are deeply connected to these values that are highly important to families today, that are highly important to parents today. These values of these, and I would say they're the extreme values. They are the values above all other values. And that is, they want their teens to be safe. They want their teens to be happy, and not just happy sometimes, but happy all the time. They want their teens to receive recognition, so that people can see how great their teens are, so that their teens will be successful, so their teens' lives will matter, and which goes back around again. So then they'll be safe, so then they'll be happy, then they'll have worth, and they'll be welcomed. And so those are a lot of things, a lot of problems that parents and teens face today. Now, obviously, some of those things that I have mentioned to you are huge concerns. The cost of college, the cost of activities, how people view themselves, their image, how they view their worth, where they get that from, how people are connected to others, having this accepting and supportive community or environment. Those things are very, very important. And at times, dealing with those things and wanting to see our teens safe, happy, receive recognition, to be successful, can lead us down some unhealthy paths, where we focus heavily on hyper individualism and unchecked desires, where in our pursuit of those extremely high values of being safe, happy, recognized, and successful, it can lead us to an unhealthy place where it's all about our wants and our desires being met, because we want to be recognized, we want to be happy. And so anything that gets in the way of those things, of our wants and our desires, that will help us to receive the recognition and happiness that we desire, that we feel as a family that we desire, is going to come with backlash. And so we can really lose our focus of what we should really be focusing on when that hyper individualism, that unchecked desires take precedence in our lives. And when this happens, it can lead to many dangers in our personal lives, and especially with youth ministry and in the church. And I'll go into those things more later. But one of the things that this leads to, this hyper individualism, this unchecked desires leads to, is a heavy consumer focus within the church, whether it be adults or whether it be teens. When we let our extreme or high values go unchecked, not be filtered in a healthy way, it can lead to this idea that the church is one more avenue for me to consume so that I'm happy, so that I'm recognized, and so that I can live the good life. We can get our values twisted and think that the church exists to make me happy or to help me pursue the good life. But in the end, the church should not expect anything out of me that might make me unhappy, that might make me uncomfortable, that pushes me out of my comfort zones, or doesn't give me the recognition I want or the things that I desire. And so we see where the dangers come in when these high values control our lives and they lead us down a dangerous path, especially when we look at the faith and it's not about hyper individualism, but it's about community. That it's not about getting our wants and needs and desires met, but it's about laying down our lives, denying ourselves, picking up our cross and following Jesus. It's about fully loving God and fully loving others. So you see the issues we come into contrast with when it comes to the values that are important in our world and the values that Christ says are important that we should be focusing on. When in reality, we should realize, rather than it being about our hyper-individualism or our unchecked desires, our endless pursuit of wanting to be happy, recognized, and successful, that we are the church. And the church doesn't exist for my wants or my desires, but rather we are the church as Christians, and we exist for the world. We are to be that salt of the earth, the light that is shining on the top of the hill, to share God's love with others. Once again, this is a big contrast to these values right now that we're told are the most important: being safe, being happy, being recognized, and being successful. And so I want us to think about that pray over those things. This is going to be the end of part 3. We'll begin part 4 in the next couple of days. But hang with me as we look at how these things in our world shape who we are, how it impacts the church, and how youth ministry has dealt with them throughout the years, and what we're called to do today so that we can make disciples of Jesus today with teens in our communities and in the world. Thank you for tuning in. God bless. Take care. I'll see y'all soon.